we have gone through 5 sessions. Okay, the first 2 is actually to introduce to you what mental culture is. When we practice mental culture, we actually want to understand our mind. Of course, I see that the purpose you join the course, there are various purpose. Okay, some of you say you come to learn. Okay, which is the first. Okay, the Buddha say learning is one of the good virtues or qualities that we can develop. So we are coming here to learn something new. Okay, and what we learn is a skill that we process. And what you have learned, nobody can take it away from you, because you already understand the concept of meditation. Some of you say that you want calm and peace, the purpose of joining the course. Yes, I believe that if you do it properly, you practice properly, the method given by the Buddha, you should be able to attain that state of mind. I hope you're not agitated after meditation. So what you need to do actually is to check your mental state before you start meditation. Right? And at the end of the meditation, you check your mental state again. What's the difference? Is your mind more peaceful, more calm, happier, or otherwise? Right? If your mind is not peaceful or calm, then maybe you got to relook at the method that you're using. But again, calmness and peacefulness is not the end. Some people can be attached to calmness and peace, and then stay there. So every time there's calmness and peace, they just stay there. Right? There's more than that. Meditation is more than that. It's for you to look at physical and mental phenomena that arises here and now. Okay? So the meditation practice is for you to understand your mind, okay? How your mind behaves under different conditions. Okay? It's especially so when we have these thoughts, that arises. So our thoughts is not always pleasant, sometimes unpleasant. Right? Sometimes neither pleasant nor unpleasant. Okay? So we also look into our feelings. Okay? So watching the breath is just looking at the physical body. We also need to watch the mind. Look at the mind and how it behaves. Because different people are conditioned in different ways, so the mind behaves differently. It can be the same situation, but the response to that situation is different. Yeah. So in our everyday life, we actually react to things. We react to things more than we respond to things. So our meditation practice helps us to look at things in a non-judgmental way. So in our everyday life, we tend to be very judgmental. When we see something, we have a perception based on our previous experience and memories. Okay? Because we are conditioned in such a way. Okay? So the same situation can arise, but 2 different persons will perceive it differently. So in meditation practice, we are supposed to watch the phenomena in a non-judgmental way. That means you are like a passive observer. Whatever arises, let it go. Whatever arises, let it go. So calm and peacefulness is one thing, okay? And some, of course, they want to learn more about the path, okay, leading to the end of suffering. Those people who are more advanced in meditation, they want to go one step further. Okay, where do I go beyond this? Right? After watching, the mind becomes calm and peaceful. What do I do after that? Okay? So this will tie in with the Noble Eightfold Path, okay, which will help us to overcome our defilements. So today I'm going to continue with this topic on mindfulness in daily life. So mindfulness can be practiced in any of the 4 postures, whether you're sitting, standing, walking, or lying down. So there's no excuse not to practice mindfulness. Okay, the moment you're awake, the moment you open your eyes, you can be mindful. Only when you sleep, but you can also sleep mindfully. You can also watch your breath, and you note whether it's an in-breath or out-breath before you fall asleep. And the moment you wake up, you start off with an out-breath or in-breath. That is, if your mindfulness is very strong. Usually, when you doze off, you don't even know when you doze off. Okay? But people who have practiced well, they can actually know, just before they sleep, is it an in-breath or an out-breath? But you're not expected to do that, okay? So in any position, you can practice mindfulness. And mindfulness not only of the body, but also of your mental states. So at any one time, you have to check, your mental state. Okay, what's your mental state now? Happy? So you're happy, okay? You're peaceful? Yeah. No worries, So you're here to practice here and now. So what happened at home doesn't matter. So no worries. So there's your mental state now. Okay? But some people, even though they come here, their mind is still worrying about something, tomorrow. But anyway, tomorrow is holiday, so you don't have to worry about office. Okay? So today is a very good day for everybody. Our mental state is okay. Our perceptions, our feelings. Okay? These are the things that we can be aware of at any time. And our thoughts. Thoughts, well, if you are listening now, your mind has less thoughts. Okay? You're only absorbing what you are hearing now. And whatever thoughts that arises is related to what you are listening. Okay? Then you have the 5 sense doors, which is very important when we open our eyes. Yesterday I said that when you close your eyes, your other sense doors are more or less cut off, except for your hearing and your thinking. Okay? But when you open your eyes, all your 6 sense doors are open. Okay? So when that happens, what do you do? Right? When we see something that is beautiful or pleasant, okay, it gives rise to what? Attachment. Right? We want it. Okay? We want to have it. If something that's unpleasant, we have aversion towards it. Right? So all your sense doors are including your smell, So if you like durian, when you smell durian, you want to have the durian. Okay? But some people can't stand the smell. So there's aversion towards it. Okay? So we have to cut the 5 sense doors. That's why we have the 5 precepts. The 5 precepts are non-stealing, non-killing, non-stealing, non-sexual misconduct, not lying, and not taking intoxicants. Okay? Now all these are related to your sense doors. Okay? These 5 precepts is actually to refrain from acts that is committed through speech and action. Speech one is the 4th precept. The other 1, 2, 3, and 5 are through actions, physical actions. Okay? So when you kill, you have to physically kill. When you steal, you got to physically take it. When you commit sexual misconduct, it's a physical action. When you drink, okay, it's a physical action. Only the 4th one is verbal. So the 5 precepts refrain. We refrain from these 5 evil actions But all this comes from the mind, right? The precepts are not broken if you don't have the intention, right? So, for example, when you walk, okay, and accidentally you step on an ant, and the ant die, right? So is that breaking the precept? Because no intention, right? You didn't see the ant, and you accidentally step on the ant. Okay? So it must have the intention. The mind state is important when you break the precept. So when you observe the precept, you're actually reducing your greed, hatred, and delusion, right? Because killing is usually associated with either greed or hatred. When you go to a restaurant, you want to order live fish. The moment you order, even though you don't kill yourself, because of your ordering the dish, the restaurant have to kill the fish. That is also an act, okay, act of killing. Okay? That is true greed, because we want it fresh. Right? But sometimes these funny things is like that. When Buddhists, sometimes they practice well, they go to restaurants, before they order, they say, is your fish dead? If your fish is dead, it's fine. Okay, it's already dead. You're not causing any harm to the animal. So it's because of greed. We want it fresh. Okay, we order a live one. Right? So it's the underlying factor. Okay, is greed. Yes. Sometimes people kill out of hatred. Hatred. Why do wars happen? It's because of hatred. One country attacking another. Okay. Even people kill each other because of hatred. So there's always the element of hatred. The defilements, either greed, hatred, or delusion. Some people kill because of delusion. Okay? They think that it's okay to kill animals because God created animals for men. Okay? We say it's wrong view. Right? So people kill because of wrong view. But to the Buddhists, it's different. All forms of life is still life. Okay? The non-killing also applies to non-human beings, including animals. Because we believe that we can also be reborn as animals. So imagine if somebody kill you. So we don't want to be killed, right? Then the second precept of stealing is usually committed out of greed. You want something that does not belong to you, so you take it away. You take it for someone else. And it causes suffering, because the person to lose it will suffer. I'm sure you don't want to lose your things. You don't want robbers to come to your house and take your things away. So this kind of act causes suffering. Sexual misconduct as well. Okay, sexual misconduct causes a lot of social problem. Okay, when married people, they commit adultery. Usually they end up with a lot of quarrel. Sometimes even to murder, to killing each other. Sometimes but if it happens, then it may even cause a family to split, and then children become they don't have a proper environment to grow up in. Okay, so it causes a lot of social problem. Right? So sexual misconduct is something that is bad, and it's usually caused by what? The defilements of also greed in the form of lust. Lust. When you see something beautiful, you're attracted to it, and you want to gratify your senses and so on. Lying is another one. Okay, lying can be motivated by greed, hatred, or delusion. In business, you find that people are not honest because of greed. They want more profit. They cheat. Right? So a lot of things happen, and even in normal circumstances, in office, there are people lie to to get their way, okay, to move up the ladder and so on. And salesmen, especially if your product is not that good, but you tell your customer that this is, it can be, do whatever that your customer need. But your product actually cannot do it. Also, is lying. So there are many there's the motivation is still greed, and it comes to lying. Then hatred for people also. When you hate somebody, you lie. You discredit them through lies, all this. And especially the media, okay, they want the people to perceive the government in certain ways. So there are a lot of untruth reports around. Okay. Then the fifth one is drinking. Okay. Drinking, some people may say, oh, if you drink a little, it's okay, as long as you don't get drunk. The consequence of drinking is that when you are drunk, you can even break the other 4 precepts. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay? So there's this story of a Tibetan story about this man who was actually possessed by a demon. Right? And the man negotiated with the demon, okay, that asked the demon to leave his body. But the demon said, okay, agreed, I will leave you, I'll leave you alone, provided you break one of the precepts. So he go through the first precept, he say, I'm a good person, I don't kill, I also don't steal from people, I'm very faithful to my wife, I don't commit sexual misconduct, I'm a businessman, I cannot lie. Otherwise people will not trust me anymore. And you see, maybe the 5th precept, okay, I'll break the 5th precept. I'll drink a little, but as long as I'm not drunk, I'm okay lah. After drinking, I go and sleep. So he started to drink, okay? And this was the first time he drank. After a few drinks, he found that the drink is very nice. He likes the drink, and he continued to drink until he was drunk. Then he went back home. Okay, when he reached home, he found that his door was locked and he didn't take the key. Okay, so he couldn't get in. But the neighbor was around. The neighbor is a beautiful lady. Say, okay, while waiting for your wife to come back, why don't you come in and to her house first? Okay. So he was drunk, and because he was drunk, they committed sexual misconduct. So he broke the 3rd precept. Right? And after that, the lady says, oh, I'm very hungry. I want to eat something. So he went to another neighbor and stole a chicken. And after stealing the chicken, he slaughtered the chicken and have a meal. Right? Then, after some time, the neighbor came and said, oh, I lost my chicken. Did you see my chicken? He says, no. So he lied. So in the end, he broke all the 5 precepts. So be careful. The 5th precept is actually as important as the other 4. Right? So, our sense doors, we must always guard our sense door. And our guiding principle is always our precepts. If you keep to your precepts, then you will not reap the consequences of the bad karma of breaking the precepts. Okay? So mindfulness is very important. Okay, when you open your eyes, not only while you're sitting and watching your breath and watching your mind, your perception, all the 5 aggregates. So when you open your eyes, you have to be mindful of the precepts, right? That's why in every occasion, when Buddhists come together and gather for chanting, we always chant the taking refuge in the Triple Gem and the 5 precepts, right? Which you did this morning. Okay, before we go into other details, I would like to introduce to you this sutta on dependent origination. Because all of us are actually governed by karma. Right? We are all affected by karma. And we are actually the cause and effect of all these conditions. So we go through life after life. Even though after this life, if you're not enlightened, you'll be reborn again. And where you'll be reborn depends on your karma. So the question is, why are you reborn again? Why are you reborn again? The Buddha actually, through his power, okay, he was able to see the cause and effect of things. Yesterday I talked to you about what happened during his enlightenment, okay? That he could see his own past life and also the past life of other beings, right? So when you can see that, you can see the causes and effect. Because of good karma, beings are born in good realms. If because of bad karma, they are born in the hell realm. And all this arises is because of ignorance. Right? Ignorance is the major cause of not knowing, okay, the nature of existence. So it's through ignorance that our mind, okay, fabricate a lot of things. So if a mind is not trained, then it is always cluttered with defilements of greed, hatred, and delusion. Right? Even though the Buddha said the mind in its original state is pure and luminous, but because we have been in existence in samsara for so long, our mind takes in a lot of negative things. Imagine the news that you hear every day. Are they good news? If they're good news, they are not news. I mean, you only hear bad news, right? So one of the things that we do, we feed the mind every day is through our phone, our handphone. We always read news through the handphone, WhatsApp, whatever, media, you know. And all these are not good news. So we are actually polluting the mind. So you're feeding your mind with thoughts of greed, thoughts of hatred, thoughts of delusion. A lot of political news are just everybody blaming each other. They don't talk good about each other. And when people do good, it's not in the headlines. All the headlines are things like disaster, things like accidents, plane crash, robbery, rape cases. So all these news you put into the mind. So if you're not careful, our mind tend to fabricate a lot of things. Right? We are conditioned. Okay? If the world is like that, then we might as well join them. We can't beat them. So we fabricate a lot of things. Okay? And it's manifested in our consciousness. Our consciousness in the form of nama rupa means our body and the mind. Okay? So once it's manifested there, it appears in our six senses. Okay? Whatever we perceive is based on our experience, our conditioning. Okay? So if we condition ourselves with all the negative news, then our perception will be negative. Okay? Then through the six senses, we have contact with objects. Okay? Once you have contact with objects, feeling arises. Right? You notice or not? Your six senses, once is in contact with external objects, feeling arises, whether it's pleasant or unpleasant. Okay? So now you know, feeling that is unpleasant, unpleasant. Okay? And when pleasant objects arises, craving arises or desire arises. Okay? That's why we tend to accumulate things, right? Because of our desire, right? Of course, here I'm not saying that you don't buy things. Okay? If you need the thing, then you buy. But you don't need the thing, don't buy. That's why we Chinese always have spring cleaning, to clear our storeroom. No matter how big our storeroom is, it's not big enough. Right? So every year we have to clear our storeroom through spring cleaning and throw away things that we don't want, so that we can buy new things. So pleasant things give rise to craving, and unpleasant things give rise to aversion. Right? You don't want to associate with unpleasant things, right? So it's another form of suffering to be associated with the unpleasant. So something that is unpleasant to you, you want to get rid of it. Even for people you don't like, you want to get rid of them. Not only your friends, also your relatives. You may not like some of your relatives. So you have less association with them. So craving gives rise to attachment. Attachment means once you have the craving or desire, you want it. There's attachment. Okay? And attachment gives rise to action, right? Of becoming or possessing it. Then you buy it. Right? So this kind of becoming, it becomes more habitual. As you have more and more attachment, it becomes more habitual. Okay? And this will lead to birth again. That means even if a person, before he dies, whatever asset he has accumulated, he can't take it with him. Okay? But there is still attachment to his asset. Physical, even though the person had passed away. That's why some people, when they die, they are reborn in the same place. Okay, we are too attached to their possession. Right? Then you say the house is haunted. It's because these beings, they are so attached to their things. So when we attach to views, we attach to objects, all this, then we are reborn again. So once you are born again, you have old age, sickness, and death. And this suffering again. So if we don't have the right view or right understanding, then we continue again with ignorance. Okay? Ignorance, and then we go around in a circle again. Our ignorance causes us to fabricate things in the mind. Right? So the whole idea of our practice is actually to develop right view or right understanding. Right? So that we can get out of this cycle of birth and death. So everything boils down to what? Cause and effect. Conditionality. Either you are caught in this world of samsara, or you get out on the world of samsara. So in our daily lives, there are many things that we can do to wash our mind so that the mind does not fall into negative mental states, okay, and be guided by greed, hatred, and delusion. That's why it's important for us to perform merits, to do good. Okay? So avoiding evil is not good enough. Okay? Keeping the precepts is not good enough. You still have to do good. Okay? So instead of killing, you practice compassion. Instead of stealing, you practice generosity. Instead of committing sexual misconduct, you practice contentment. Instead of lying, you practice truthfulness. Instead of taking intoxicants, you practice mindfulness. Because when you're mindful, your mind is not intoxicated. You know what you're doing. So mindfulness is very important. The moment you wake up, you have to be mindful. Right? Even when you walk to the bathroom, you got to walk mindfully, especially old people. If the floor is slippery, make sure you walk mindfully so that you don't fall down. Because your bones are brittle. You cannot afford to fall down. You'll hurt yourself. So when you brush your teeth, you can also be mindful. When you bathe, you can also be mindful. Then it's good to start the day mindfully with your short chanting. Okay? You don't have to do a long chanting or parita chanting, but just taking refuge, paying homage to Buddha, taking refuge, and also the 5 precepts. Remind yourself that the 5 precepts is my guiding principle. You can keep the 5 precepts, you're okay, you're a good Buddhist. To be a Buddhist, you take the 3 refuge. To be a good Buddhist, you take the 5 precepts as well. So this is a minimum lah. If you got time, you do some meditation. It's good for you to sit in the morning, especially. The best time to meditate is in morning. Of course, evening you can also do it, but sometimes because of your work, you may feel a bit tired. Morning is always the best time. Okay? If you don't have much time, maybe start with 15 minutes. If you have time, you do 40 minutes. Because usually it takes about 20 minutes to stabilize the mind and settle the mind. Then after that you can have your breakfast. You can eat mindfully again. Okay, be aware of what you're eating. You activate all the senses, okay, and try to be mindful of the sensations that you experience. Then when you drive to work also, you can drive mindfully, otherwise you get into accident. And use red light, you stop, right? Of course, I think many people rush to work to beat the red light. But it's important to drive mindfully. So one of the ways is actually, in order to drive mindfully, sometimes you use a different route. Okay? So when you're on familiar route, you're more mindful. If you're on the familiar route, maybe you're so used to it, you think that you're mindful, but you're not mindful. And even at the office, when you do your work, do it mindfully. Okay. Of course, many people multitask when they do their work, but again, the concept of the mind is the mind can only take in one object at a time. Right? So you can multitask because your mind moves very fast, but sometimes you tend to miss out things if you do too many things at the same time. Then you have to do your planning, your thinking in the office. Okay, do it mindfully. So if you have to think, you think. You don't know and watch your breath. Okay? Mindfulness does not mean you watch your breath. Only when you watch your breath, you're mindful. Even when you're thinking, you know you're thinking. Okay? You do the work of thinking. Be mindful when you're thinking. When you're planning also, be mindful. Then you come back for your dinner. Okay, again you can practice your mindful eating. Resting. While resting, you can also watch your breath. Entertainment. Okay, you may want to listen to some music. All this you can also listen to it mindfully. Okay, then speaking. Also, you speak mindfully. Use words that are pleasant, that are beneficial, rather than harsh speech. You got nothing to say, remain silent. Keep the word silent. And then sleep, you sleep mindfully. So these are the things that we can do. So meditation, you can allocate some time for meditation. If you don't like to sit, you can do some chanting, recollection of the Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha. Okay? Or you want to do sitting or walking meditation. Okay? Eating, you do in your daily activities. And it's good to do metta as well. Metta, to expand your mind. So when you're mindful of the mental states, there are some criteria that you can use to check whether your thoughts are good, unwholesome or not. Okay? So when thought arises, you can check whether it's beneficial or not. Okay? It's appropriate, relevant, or realistic. Right? Sometimes our thoughts, we can have fantasies and think about a lot of things. Okay? But it's not realistic. So if you pass this test, if it's not beneficial, you can forget about the last three. But again, how do you determine whether it's beneficial? Okay, again we go back to our basic defilements, okay? Whether it's motivated by greed, hatred, or delusion. Okay? So if it's motivated by greed, hatred, and delusion, usually it's not beneficial. But it's motivated by non-greed, non-hatred, and non-delusion, that is beneficial. So we have to set this criteria. Okay? So if you can check this in the mental state, then it's not manifested in the form of speech and action. So again, speech, you have to evaluate. Okay? When you say something, whether it's beneficial, truthful, timely, polite, and spoken with metta. Okay? These are the criteria when we speak. Okay? People don't like speech that are not beneficial, especially gossip, slander, all this. These are speech that are unwholesome. Okay? Speech that are untruthful, lies. Okay? Untimely. Some speech is good, but then untimely. Then whether the words used are harsh or not. Okay? Or it is polite. Okay? So these are the criteria when we speak. Then mindfulness of mental state. Okay? We can always watch our thoughts, understanding our thoughts and emotion. And not all our thoughts are true. Right? Sometimes it's not true. It has wrong views or it has ignorance. We have to reprogram our mindset through direct personal experience. More accepting and forgiving for oneself and others. That means you have metta. Okay? It's easier to let go and therefore more contented and happy. And some of the things that can help us in our mental state is to practice the 4 Brahma Viharas, okay, of compassion, loving kindness, sympathetic joy, and equanimity. Loving kindness, we know that we not only send loving kindness to people we love, but also try to send loving kindness to people you dislike. Okay? And most of the time, the mind likes to dwell in complaining. Right? If you notice, if you watch your mind, you'll find that the mind likes to complain, right? This is no good, that is no good. The place is no good. The people around is no good. When you go home, you complain about the house dirty. And so many things that we can complain of. So the mind is always complaining. So we must have compassion towards others, that everybody is not like us. They have their own way. That's the way it is. And compassion for those people who are suffering, those who are sick, okay, those who need help. Okay? Because we are more fortunate than others. Okay? The fact that you can be here today, you're more fortunate than others. You don't have to work on Sunday. Some people have to work on Sunday, so they cannot come here and listen to Dhamma. Whereas you're fortunate, you don't have to work during the weekends. So those people who need help, we offer help. Sympathetic joy is another thing that we can practice, because when people are successful, okay, we are also happy for them. We are joyful for them. Right? Usually, we are happy only if our children are successful. Okay, those people whom we love or are related to are happy. But even somebody else, children, okay, when they are successful, we also should be happy. Right? But most of the time, people are jealous. Especially your colleagues, if they get promotion, you are jealous. Why shouldn't it be me? Then the other quality we can develop is equanimity. In life, we always meet with people who are good and also bad people. Good and bad is always there. If you come to this center, probably meet a lot of spiritual friends, okay, who are good, right? Who, because you share the same vision, okay, you practice the same path, okay. But out there in other places, people may have the wrong, different religion, different views, so they behave differently, and it may not be to your liking, right? They may do wrong things because they don't know what is good, what is bad. So sometimes they hurt you, but we should not be too affected sometimes, because we have to understand that everyone has their own karma. So you can't change them. It's not easy to teach people, especially when they're old, because they have a lot of preconceived ideas in their head. And say for 50, 60 years they've been practicing that thing. It's not easy for them to change, unless they're prepared to. Okay? That's why learning is very important. Okay? It's a lifelong process. Even though you're not young, you can still learn. Right? There's always new things to learn. But it's not easy to teach people. It's easier to teach children. That's why if you want to send your children to Dhamma school, better send them when they're young. Even when they are teenagers, it's quite difficult already, because they have their own mind. They will prefer to follow their friends, okay, than their parents. When they're young, they follow their parents. When they're teenagers, they follow their friends. Okay? When they are adult, they have their own mind. So it's good to train them when they're young, especially when they're in primary school. Okay? So whatever it is, the people that we are associated with, if they do bad things, we don't have to be too upset. We have to practice a balanced state of mind. Okay? Balanced state of mind. And you always think that they are the owners of their own karma. Right? They have their own karma. So you don't have to teach them, but they will reap the results of what they do. And then also in this world, there are all these 8 worldly conditions: gain and loss, praise and blame, fame and ill fame, happiness and sorrow. So these things happen to us. Sometimes we gain, sometimes we lose. Sometimes people blame us, sometimes people praise us. Sometimes we have fame, sometimes we have ill fame. Sometimes we are happy, sometimes we are sad. Okay? So when these things happen, if we can practice equanimity, okay, balanced state of mind, then our mind becomes steady, peaceful, rather than being agitated by the worldly conditions. So mindfulness does not apply only when you're sitting down and doing formal sitting, but when you open your eyes in your daily activities, it's good to be mindful all the time, okay, at every moment. When you do sweeping, be mindful of sweeping. When you're bathing, be mindful of bathing. When you're eating, be mindful of eating. When you're walking, be mindful of your walking. When you're driving, be mindful of your driving. Walking, be mindful of walking. Right? That's why some people, when they walk, they fall down into the drain because they're not mindful. Right? You can never kick a stone, uneven surfaces, okay, because you're not mindful. And the more mindfulness you have, you can remember things better. If you listen mindfully, the retention is always higher. Right? But you don't listen mindfully, then you tend to lose some of the information that you hear. So it is my sharing this morning on mindfulness in daily life.